Hello, and welcome everybody to tonight's celebration. I'm Troy Matthews, and I'm going to be your host tonight for the Laura Russo Illuminary Alumni Awards ceremony. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that Portland, Oregon lies within the traditional homelands of Multnomah, Oregon City Tumwater, the Watalata, the Clackamas Chinooks, and the Tualatin Kalapuya people who were relocated to the Grand Ronde Reservation under the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855. Today, these tribes are part of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. The Grand Ronde people continue to maintain a connection with their ancestral homelands and maintain their traditional cultural practices. We'd also like to acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, assimilation that still impact many Indigenous and Native American families today. As settlers and guests on these lands, we respect the work that Native nations, leaders, families have done and are currently doing. We also make ongoing efforts to center Indigenous knowledge, creativity, resilience, and resistance within our lives and our practices here. On behalf of the members of the Alumni Council and the Alumni Recognition Committee, I would like to thank you all for coming out and paying tribute to 4 of our outstanding alumni this evening. Even though we're celebrating tonight's ceremony digitally, and I do want to apologize in advance for any technical difficulties or any errors, or if I pronounce any names incorrectly, please bear with us. This evening is still going to be special for us to acknowledge these 4 outstanding and amazing artists as recipients of the Laura Russo Illuminary Award tonight. So please join us as we take this exceptional journey honoring these award winners, Anthony Hudson, Mary Ellen McFadden, Lucinda Parker, and R.V. Smith. Over the last year, we have experienced a global pandemic, civil unrest, forest fires, natural disasters, political hotbeds, and searched for social justice. There have been many challenges and changes across the world, which has called for more critical thinking, social change, and voices of the many to focus on equality and just causes. These elements are considered to be core principles of our community here at PNCA. We stand at the forefront of implementing change and watch as much of the world begins to follow suit. We would like to thank each one of you for the work you do in your own practices each day to make the world a more inclusive place. So thank you. As I mentioned before tonight, we will be honoring 4 outstanding artists who have been selected as alumni who have become examples of excellence and have made an impact on our community. But before we hear from our awardees, I would like to recognize the president of Willamette University, President Steve Thorson. I would also like to introduce PNCA's interim president, David Ellis, who will be sharing a few thoughts with us. So please give a big welcome to Mr. David Ellis.
Thanks, Troy. I hope you can hear me out there. I am so honored to be here today to celebrate Anthony, Ellen, Lucinda, and RV and your accomplishments that the Alumni Recognition Committee has voted for you. I can't imagine more worthy recipients. PNCA is very proud of you. I want to thank the Alumni Recognition Committee, Stacy Amaya, Linda Hutchins, Troy Matthews, Tamara English, Gina Edelman, Paige Lambert, Gabriella, and of course, Faith Emerson and Lauren Creaney for your hard work. I know that these were tough choices, but you came up with some really, really good awardees. Thanks for being here, President Thorson. Steve, I know you're out there somewhere. I know that our alumni and our college are going to be in very good hands, and that's coming very soon. As many of you know, PNCA is poised to merge with another terrific institution on June 30th of this year, Willamette University. And President Thorson, of course, is the president at Willamette. I think it's fitting that this year was chosen to reinvigorate the Laura Russo Luminary Awards, and recognize these artists from PNCA and from the museum school, I might add, as we pause briefly before this merger. Like our recipients today, who combined bring so many talents in different disciplines to the fore, this merger will add to the palette we offer our students to broaden their education, their understanding, and consequently their reach. We're on the eve of an educational combination that will change both institutions. You know, on July 1st, 1/3 of the undergraduate students at Willamette University will be art students. And these students will now have at their fingertips new content, law, business, music, theater, expanded digital and computer programming tools to help inform and make possible their lives of creative practice. All of this expanded, vastly expanded programming and content will give a boost to their education. And at the same time, our terrific faculty, staff, and students, and our curriculum will expand the creative horizons for Willamette students. As you can tell, we're really excited about this. It's going to be really great. It will ensure Willamette University and PNCA a very bright future in Salem, in Portland, in the region, and nationally. I am most honored to be here and to be the interim president for this year of change, for momentous change. And I really, really am happy to be here to celebrate you, Ellen, Harvey, Lucinda, and Anthony. You bring your college pride. Thank you.
Tonight, the Laura Russo Luminary Award is one of the most prestigious awards that PNCA awards. The first time it was given out was in 2011 to Laura Russo, who graduated from PNCA in 1975. It was awarded to her for her outstanding contributions to the Portland art scene. The next time it was awarded was in 2013 to George Johansson, who graduated PNCA in 1950. It was awarded to him for his long life commitment to the arts and nurturing students' creative development. For several years, the award has not been given out. Tonight, we'll be showcasing 4 worthy recipients for this honor: Anthony Hudson, Mary Ellen McFadden, Lucinda Parker, and Arby Smith. The Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award is awarded to alumni who have demonstrated excellence, impact, innovation, and integrity in their lives, works, and creative practice, and aims to celebrate the broad spectrum of traditional and non-traditional paths to alumni excellence. With a bit more of the history of the award, here is Faith Emerson and Dylan Lawrence, Laura Russo's son, to talk more about Laura Russo, the award, the Russo League Gallery, and the exhibit of our award winners' work at the gallery right now. Please join me while we take a look.
Welcome and good evening from the Russo League Gallery. Originally the Laura Russo Gallery, the gallery was founded in 1986 by Laura Russo. My name is Faith Emerson and I'm the Alumni Relations Coordinator at PNCA. And I'm standing in the exhibition space that presents the work of our 4 recipients tonight in the gallery. The show is on through the month of June. The Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award was made in honor of PNCA's alum Laura Russo for her incredible contributions in the development of the Portland arts community. Initially working for Arlene Schnitzer and the pioneering Fountain Gallery, Laura went on to found her own gallery where she showcased and advocated for some of the most notable artists in the Northwest, including her aunt and uncle, Michael Russo and Sally Haley, as well as one of our recipients tonight, Lucinda Parker. She co-established the First Thursday group, which became the Portland Art Dealers Association, and excluding COVID, has been creating community outreach now for over 30 years. She shared her knowledge and keen aesthetic with others, and she believed and expected excellence from herself and those around her. And she was a great supporter of many arts organizations, including PNCA, Laura Russo received the prestigious Governor Arts Award in 2010 and was recognized posthumously in 2011 as the first recipient of the Laura Russo Distinguished Alumni Award. We've come here today to talk with Dylan Lawrence, Laura's son, and whose history and knowledge of Laura, the Portland art scene, and PNCA is extensive. Let's meet up with Dylan now to talk about some of his insights and recollections of his mom. You have a long history in the Portland art scene. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what it was like with your mom in those early days.
My parents, who had met in art school, divorced when I was 7. And my mother, in the early 70s, she had to take whatever jobs were available. And she always put food on the table for me and my sister. We always had lovely times. And then we would go and participate and we were just a part of this amazing community of artists that were all very accomplished, intelligent people. As the years went on, Mother was very trepidatious about opening the gallery. And I can remember telling her, Mom, you got all these artists that are backing you. I don't think she ever in the early years envisioned that she would own one of the premier galleries in the Pacific Northwest and run it. She did that because of her passion for A, survival, I suppose, but B, more importantly, this incredible community of artists that she moved to the Pacific Northwest when she was 17 to be around and pursue an art career on her own.
What kind of impact did she make within the arts community?
When you look at the meta picture of Laura Russo, for all of her directness and kind of arched comments that she would sometimes make for people, it always came from a place in her heart of helping people be their best and make and find beauty in their lives. I've had so many people come up to me over the last 11 years since she died who would say, your mother knew I was never going to buy art, but she would take her time, she would talk to me about it, she would show me everything. And to my mom, the 3 pillars really were to maintain the gallery for her employees, to maintain the gallery for the artists so that they could continue to sell and make art. As a gallerist, I think help support them in their path and their journey. And then the third thing that was very important to her was a public space for members of the public to come in and be able to peruse art, the collectors to develop their interests and their passions for what they wanted. It really is her underlying commitment to the entire art community to be supportive, be their best, and make and find beauty.
That's such a rich heritage that she's left us. How would you say this particular Luminary Award reflects your mother's philosophies or that vision she had?
Well, I think it's a wonderful honor to have this award in her name. I think the 2 pillars that she would most want reflected in the idea of a Laura Russo a Luminary Award would be the idea that we in Portland support each other in a community of artists, make and find beauty in an excellent way, and struggle with that. Because I think life for everyone, whether you're an artist or not, is often a struggle. The Portland art community is so different than it was back in the 70s. It's so much larger. And I hope that spirit of support and cooperation amongst artists for each other and educating the public and growing the art scene even further continues.
Thank you, Faith and Dylan, for all that insight into the wonderful memories and the pictures of Portland's history. Now it is time that we've all been waiting for. It is time to celebrate and learn more about our award winners. Tonight, we'll be hearing from our alum and alumni chair of the Alumni Recognition Committee, Stacy Anai, who graduated from PNCA in 2005. She will be introducing each of our recipients and a little bit about their work. First off, we have Anthony Hudson, aka Oregon's premier drag clown, Carla Rossi, who graduated from PNCA in 2013 with a focus on intermedia. Please, let's enjoy.
Anthony Hudson is a Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde multidisciplinary artist, writer, and filmmaker, and is also known as Portland's premier drag clown, Carla Rossi. Anthony graduated from PNCA in 2013 with a major in intermedia. In 2018, Anthony was named a National Artist Fellow from the Native Arts and Cultures Foundation and a Western Arts Alliance Native Launchpad Artist. In 2019, Anthony became an Oregon Arts Commission Fellow, and in 2021, Anthony received a First Peoples Fund Fellow, as well as project support and fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts. Together, Anthony and Carla host and program Queer Horror, the only ongoing LGBTQ+ horror film and performance series in the country at Portland's historic Hollywood Theater. Anthony has worked with USA Artists International, the Oregon Community Foundation, RAC, PICA, the Portland Art Museum, and so much more. Anthony's performances have been featured at the Portland and Seattle Art Museums, Artist Repertory Theater, Portland Center Stage, New York Theater Workshops, and in international venues. We congratulate Anthony today for becoming a Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award recipient.
I'm Anthony Hudson. I'm also sometimes better known as Carla Rossi, who is a pack of lies. And I graduated from PNCA in 2013 with a focus in intermedia.
Welcome to Queer Horror!
When I was a kid, my mom would always tell me about the time that she spent in art school. And I drew my whole childhood. Drawing was something that I was so interested in. And actually, I started at PNCA as an illustrator. I didn't do drag until like midway through my time at PNCA. And even then, I was afraid to bring it into PNCA. But it was my professors that were saying, hey, so you're showing up late for class with clown makeup still covering your face. What's going on? Why aren't you doing that here if you care about it so much?
Phone I stole from the scene.
I think the thing that people connect with about Carla is the fact that she is just such a fool. She is such a clown. She's an attempt to lampoon the things I see wrong in the world and the problems I see functioning or not functioning. But simultaneously, she's also myself. She's me at my most awful and my most evolved somehow at the same time. Receiving the Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award is an honor. It's a massive honor to me. It feels like I really am part of PNCA, and it feels like I really made a mark on a place that had a huge impact for me. But I think even more so when I think about this honor, I'm looking at the people that I'm honored alongside and these individuals who, to me, are monoliths. So we have Ellen McFadden and Lucinda Parker and R.V. Smith, and that I get to say I'm part of a group with these incredible, incredible people and artists and human beings. It just really blows me away, especially as someone who still sees themselves as a little weird kid from a small town who is best known for dressing up like an angry white lady from Lake Oswego. That's massive.
That is so wonderful. Anthony, would you be so kind to turn on your camera and unmute yourself?
Well, hello.
Hello, how are you doing tonight?
I'm ecstatic. How are you?
I'm just honored to be here, celebrating you and all these other wonderful people. You've been busy.
Yes, I've been very busy on my couch reading books for the last year and doing nothing else.
That's not true. I heard you were raising money for artists not too long ago.
We just ran a little fundraiser for Risk Reward, which is a wonderful theater group that I work with here in Portland. I'm on the board of, and we put together a Zoom telethon I did it as Carla Rossi, and my best friend Pepper joined, and we had a sham telethon that actually was a real telethon, but of a drag self-help Zoom gone wrong. And we raised some funding for Risk Reward artists, and it was super fun.
You've also been to Broadway. You had a off-Broadway performance there not too long ago.
Yes, yeah, that was really weird. I had an off-Broadway premiere, my off-Broadway premiere at the New York Theater Workshop in La Mama in January. My solo show, Looking for Tiger Lily, streamed through there, through the Reflections of Native Voices Festival that Safe Harbors New York City does. And that was just wild to me. And it was actually my ideal gig because it was like my off-Broadway debut. And it was a video that I had done like at TBA for Pica, and I got to just lay on the couch while it existed in the internet. So that was the best kind of show.
So how is life treating you during this pandemic? You were saying you're on the couch and you're just reading books. Are you planning anything big in the future? Are there things that we need to look out for you to celebrate you and your work in the future?
Yeah, I've just been writing a lot in addition to reading. I find that reading helps me write better. And that's a whole other extension of my art practice. And I'm working on a new piece. I'm working on a new show that I'm actually touring to Stanford, hopefully this fall, assuming things go well. And then next year in TBA, I'm premiering Clown Down 2, Clown Out of Water, where, I did the first Clown Down at PNCA. And in that show, Carla gets crushed by a cabinet that has fallen on her, a David Eckert cabinet. And in Clown Down 2, she is now trapped on a rock in the middle of the ocean. And this is just my idea of where I want to take all of my work from now on is let's put a clown and let's just trap her in horrible scenarios and then watch me laugh.
I do have a question. As being one of the youngest award winners, how is this impacting you and your career as you think of yourself as an artist and as you go forward?
It just feels so massive. Like this is so cool. And this is like, I think the first physical award that I think I've ever received. I've received honors and that's means so much to me, but this is the first physical award. So I get to put it on my mantle and I'm very excited to be able to put this on my mantle. But just knowing that I'm recognized and like I said in the video with this incredible group of individuals, I really feel like I always feel like the odd duck, but I just really can't believe that I get to be part of this specific group of just legends that I've looked up to for a while. So it gives me that kind of extra zhuzh that I think I need, especially after this year. So it really means a lot.
Well, you deserve it, and we can't wait to see what you do in the future. We're going to have more time to talk with you in a little bit, but we're going to continue on with the award presentation now. Thank you, Anthony, so much for your kind words and wonderful insight into your practice.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you, everyone.
Our next award winner is Mary Ellen McFadden, who graduated from PNCA in 1940 when it was still called the Museum Art School. Please enjoy this.
Ellen McFadden was born in 1928 in Portland, Oregon, and has had a lifelong commitment to art and design, both as an instructor and freelance graphic designer in the Northwest and Iowa. She attended the Museum Art School, now Pacific Northwest College of Art, and took classes with Doug Lynch and Lloyd Reynolds. At the same time, she also set up a cubbyhole office in downtown Portland where she did pre-press mechanicals for other designers and freelance calligraphy. Influenced in the early 1960s by constructivist and new graphic design movements in Europe, she and her husband, Erwin McFadden, assimilated these new styles into their own design and art practices. Ellen taught technical, design, and calligraphy at colleges in Washington as well as in Iowa for over 20 years, and spent 15 years developing and supervising a work-study information design program until she retired. It was then that she began her revered painting career. At 93, Ellen continues to work on paintings that incorporate pattern and vibrant color, their titles alluding to the Northwest geography and native tribes that are so ingrained in her personal history. In addition to multiple exhibitions at Ampersand Gallery, McFadden's paintings have been featured in solo presentations at Wieden and Kennedy, and her work was included in the 2016 Portland Biennial. We congratulate Ellen as a recipient of the Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award.
My name is Mary Ellen McFadden. I had no major. Everything was mixed. It was not as it is today. The curriculum was according to the school's plan. So I remember in 1949, I had been taking classes from the time I was a child in 1930s, late 30s, and then through World War II period, I was taking part-time adult classes, and then it became, when I graduated from high school, full-time. I became very interested in what was going on in European design and how that related to local work through my education at Pena, where the course was at the Museum Art School. Living in the Northwest was my home and my family's home, several generations. And I felt that it related to the work that was very important. My words of wisdom to young people are explore and travel and see what's going on in the world. That probably helped me more than anything, to see what's out there. Receiving the award means very much to me because it shows how much I have covered. It helps me to relate to a certain finished product. And that's a lifetime.
Mary Ellen, if you would turn on your camera right now, we would love to hear from you. How are you doing this evening?
Let's see, how are you? How am I doing? At 92, I think I'm doing fine with your help.
Well, you are sounding great, and you got some wonderful work behind you. You're still creating and making, is that correct?
Well, I struggle on. We all struggle on. And Ampersand Gallery was right there to help me say it.
Well, that's fantastic. I've heard that you are quite the icon with young artists and designers. They all look up to you.
Well, yes, more or less. Not as quite as much as I had in the past.
I still hear you that you're a force to reckon with. And that you set the standard of design and principles with color and line. And I think it's just fantastic.
Well, that's just the way I see things. And I just go my own little way.
Well, thank you for setting the example. What are you currently working on in your practice?
Well, it doesn't work so much as struggle at times, but I'm never quite sure what I'm doing until I start working.
Well, that seems to be the antithesis of what it is to be an artist. Struggle and not know what you're doing.
Oh, yes. There's a huge question there when you start to work. Which way are you going? What are you doing? What are you resolving? I just think the award was so fantastic, and it helps to generate my enthusiasm on for the future. I appreciate that.
You have been an inspiration to a lot of us at PNCA. And so thank you from all of us for continuing that struggle in the studio to make the best work you can that fulfills you.
I watched what Stanley has to say, and it's so good. And I think, well, the young ones are speaking for us, older ones. That's nice.
Well, Mary Ellen, thank you so much for being with us. We'll have more with you in a little bit. Thank you so much for your amazing words there. Our next recipient is Lucinda Parker, who graduated from PNCA in 1966 with a joint major with Reed College. Let's please watch this video.
Among the most admired painters in the Northwest, Lucinda Parker has forged an impressive career that includes ambitious public projects in Oregon, Washington, and California. Originally from Boston, Parker received a BA jointly from Reed College and the Museum Art School, now Pacific Northwest College of Art, and an MFA from Pratt Institute. Parker taught composition, drawing, and painting at PNCA from 1972 until she retired in 2006. Represented by Russo Lee Gallery in Portland and Linda Hodges Gallery in Seattle, Parker's works are in collections throughout the Northwest. Major public collections include the Hallie Ford Museum of Art at Willamette University, the Portland Art Museum, and the Seattle Art Museum. Public commissions can be found at the Oregon Convention Center, Portland City Hall, and a federal courthouse in Bakersfield, California, among others. The Portland Art Museum honored Parker with a mid-career retrospective in 1995. The Boise Art Museum presented a one-person exhibition of her work in 2002. And in 2019, the Hallie Ford Museum mounted a 50-plus year retrospective of her impressive career. Our congratulations go out to Lucinda as a recipient of the Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award.
I'm Lucinda Parker, and also known as Cindy McCarthy, but Lucinda Parker. And I graduated from Museum Art School in 1966, and I majored in painting and I minored in printmaking. I was born in Boston, Lying in 1942, and my mother was a very cheerfully permissive person. She allowed me to mix up poster paint with water and mix up red and blue and yellow and white and all these colors. And then it came time for me to go away to school, and my mother wanted me to go to Smith, and I said, forget that. I'm going to read. And the reason I picked Reed was I read in the catalog that I could do a combined program with the Museum Art School. What drew me to the art school was 3 hours of studio work in the morning and 3 hours of studio work in the afternoon. That's what drew me to the art school. I was totally happy. I felt like I'd gone to heaven. I just remember these life drawing classes because, you know, in those days, first of all, you weren't supposed to be looking at nude bodies. And second of all, you weren't supposed to be drawing them, but we did. And that's what I wanted to do. And the other thing is, I always felt, and I still feel this way, that I'm part of a sliding sandwich, which consists of myself and my colleagues my own age, my teachers, and my students. And these are sliding forms that slide by each other. Receiving the Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award is important because a luminary award means something that is sticking up and catching the light from somewhere else, or it means somebody who's actually emitting light. So I don't know which kind of luminary we're talking about here, but I like it.
Lucinda Parker, would you please turn on your camera and unmute yourself? How are you doing this evening?
Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very pleased to be part of this group of people.
It is an amazing group of people, and you're one of them. How is your practice going lately?
I'm working on a big project for the Washington State Arts Commission for Tumwater. And Tumwater is a little town just south of Olympia. And Tumwater is the Chinook jargon for waterfall. And this is a big building that's filled with laboratories. And people are not invited to come in. However, they are getting somebody to make paintings. That's me.
Are you painting big again?
Well, I think the biggest painting I ever made was the one that's in the convention center is truly the biggest one, which is 14 by 44 feet. But the one that's in Longview, Washington is 10 by 40 feet, and it's one piece of canvas. I don't know how we did it. It was just quite remarkable. And a couple of the people, like Linda Hutchins, helped me with it. And I had a big bunch of people helping me. It was very exciting.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you have a large space to work in to make these things happen. At least that's what I've seen, especially when I've seen your shows. I've always been impressed by the scale and a lot of your brush strokes. And I think you even use a scraping technique in your artwork.
I use a spatula, the kind of spatula that the mud guys use when they're putting the filling in between pieces of sheetrock, the sheetrock mudder. So it's about 10 inches wide, and I use it like a paintbrush. And Tom Fox once said a very smart thing. He says, if you make a big thing, you make a big work, you should make it with big tools. Big tools help a lot. I would like to say something about Laura Russo because this is in honor of Laura Russo, and she and I. She started the Museum Art School in '60, and I started in '62. And we are the same age, actually, or we would be the same age if she was still alive. And I want to tell you that when Arlene decided to close the gallery, we all looked at Laura, and Laura said, well, maybe I can do this. And she borrowed some $10,000 from 10 people. And within a year and a half, she had paid it back. And it was a big risk for her. She didn't have a big pocket. She didn't have the kind of backing, of course, that Arlene had. But on the other hand, Arlene was always there in the background, making sure that people came in. And, you know, Arlene knew where all the walls were. But Laura had a lot of courage when she took it over. It was a big deal for her.
It is a big risk. And, you know, it's not one that you take lightly. And obviously she put a lot of hard work and effort into it. And all of her wonderful artists, you know, supported her with creating amazing things like you did.
Well, the other thing you have to remember about running a gallery is it's a place for everybody to go. You don't pay money to go in there. You don't pay money for admission. And you can look and, you know, you can look and think, and it's free. I mean, somebody has to buy something sometimes, but the fact is it's free for you to go in there, and people forget that.
Well, thank you so much, Lucinda. We are going to move on now to our next and final award winner, which is R.V. Smith. R.V. Smith graduated from PNCA in 1986 with a focus on painting. Please enjoy this about R.V.'s practice.
R.V. Smith spent his childhood in rural Texas and South Central Los Angeles. He received his BFA in painting from PNCA in 1986 and his MFA from the Hofberger School of Painting at Maryland Institute College of Art in 1992. Smith also studied at the Studio Art Center International and attended Il Basante International School of Printmaking in Florence, Italy, while his work continues to be informed by his travels to West Africa. R.V. taught at the Maryland Institute College of Art, University of Oregon, Oregon College of Arts and Crafts, and PNCA. After teaching painting for 25 years, Smith retired in 2014 with the title of Faculty Emeritus, and in 2018 was awarded an honorary PhD of art from PNCA. He has exhibited extensively, both regionally and nationally, and has work in many American collections, including Memphis Brooks Museum of Art, Delaware Museum of Art, University of Maryland, the Lauren Rogers Museum of Art in Mississippi, and the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. In 2017, he received the Governor's Award for the Art for Lifetime Achievement, and in 2020, the Joan Mitchell Sculpture and Painters Award. Next year, R.V.'s work will be exhibited in a retrospective collection at Hallie Ford Museum of Art at Willamette University and will be represented in the 2022 Venice Biennale. We congratulate R.V. as a recipient of the Laura Russo Luminary Alumni Award.
My name is R.V. Smith, and I graduated from Pacific Northwest College of Art in 1986, and I majored in painting and printmaking. I grew up in the rural South with my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and grandfather. My great-grandmother, who was born a slave. I came to Portland, and every day on the way to my social service job, I would pass this art school. And I said, one day I'm going to go to that art school. I had gone to a talk at Pacific Northwest College of Art just to see what the art school was about. And there was this professor, this artist on stage in the auditorium by the name of Paul Missel. This artist is painting with both hands, painting a portrait with both hands and lecturing. I said, I want to know what he knows. I always wanted to belong to an artist community, work with other artists, and pass on the information that I had, that I always wanted to know and didn't know how to get. Receiving the Laura Russo Luminary Award for PNCA alumni is quite an honor. It cements my participation, my place in the alumni community of Pacific Northwest College of Art, which is an incredible honor. Looking back, as I said, some of my professors and those people before me that have always kind of been my heroes.
Arvi, would you like to please turn on your camera and unmute yourself there? Welcome. Congratulations. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. I heard that you might possibly be the first African American to graduate from PNCA. Is that true?
I'm the first African American, according to the registrar, to graduate from the institution of PNCA. That goes all the way back, the over 100-year history of the institution. And I was the first African American to graduate.
That is a big milestone for our school, and it opened up a lot of doors for BIPOC people like myself to come in and graduate as well. So thank you for leading the way.
You're welcome. I'm how does that go? I'm my grandparents' dream. As my bio says, my great-grandmother was a slave. So to be awarded Professor Emeritus and an honorary PhD is just quite amazing. I wish you were around to see it. Being a part of Pacific Northwest College of Art in itself is an honor, but I always wanted to be an artist. And the first time I attempted to go to art school was way back when. And this was Jim Crow times. And I went to this art school. They told me they didn't need my kind there. So I kind of gave up the dream for quite a few years until Pacific Northwest College of Art.
Arvi, you have some big things coming up. Could you tell us about that so we can put it on our radar?
Okay, I have a show coming up at the Hallie Ford, a retrospective that will be in 22. And I have another one in 22. I'll be represented by Gallery Matisse, which is located in Baltimore, in the Venice Biennale in 22.
Well, there I am. I need to book my trips to Venice right now.
I'm looking forward to it. We, through Gordon Gilkey, I received a small grant to travel and study in Italy. And my wife and I were there for a year studying painting and printmaking. And that was quite an experience. My Italian.
And that I'm very jealous of. It is a very great experience to be over there. Arvi, thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to keep your camera on, and I'm also going to invite Mary Ellen McFadden, Anthony Hudson, and Lucinda Parker to turn on your cameras right now. At this time, we are going to celebrate you. And so I'm going to ask the people at home, our audience, to also join us. We're going to open up the chat for you to type in any message of congratulations to these wonderful people. George Johansson, a former alumni winner of this award. Please unmute yourself, George, and take it away.
Did I do it right?
You did.
Well, that was great. And it was really wonderful to see a synopsis of all of your work. Boy, that's good. Good stuff. Really good. And I'm struck by how it reflects back on the school and really shows what you got out of the school, but also is a tribute to what you've done carrying on. What you're adding to the community and to the art life of the community is just terrific. So they reflect back and forth on each other, I think. And Mary Ellen and I were classmates back in the late 40s at the school when it had a wooden floor and 6 little studios with no basement, no upper floor. And Anthony, I didn't know your work at all, and that was great. I'm going to try to go take in one of your performances. It was really wonderful to see it. And Lucinda, you were one of my students once, and Arvi, a great friend from way back in your school days. So, yeah. And I was just thinking that also people have other talents. Both you and Lucinda have beautiful voices and sing. So I'm just going to throw that in. So congratulations. Bravo.
Hey.
All of you.
Thank you, George, so much for those kind words. We have another person. I believe Olson is your last name. I don't want to mispronounce your first name.
Hey, it's so great because I learned a lot more about all of your work than I knew previous to this presentation. It's really exciting. And of course, Arvi, I wanted to say how exciting it is to me to see you get this award, because I've really been a fan of your artwork and your personality for a long time. And, Lucinda, thank you for all your work. I've from background have watched and not really been actively involved with you, but all this stuff, it's really exciting because the whole thing about community, and that's one of the reasons why I was really motivated to be a part of PNCA and go back to school, was for the art and the printmaking and, graphics and painting, and also to not be alone and to have community. And this alumni award and what's going on with the school currently is really giving me that feeling of not being alone. And I'm really excited about what you're doing, and congratulations. Awesome work.
Thank you for those kind words. We have a question in the chat for all of you. The question is, how do you find your inspiration?
I can start. It starts with the reading. A lot of it is based on my experiences, but I think I think any artist worth their salt does the research before doing the work, and that's how I get started with something. I'm attracted to something, I research it, and then attempt to do a painting around that work.
Thank you, Arvi. Lucinda, you shaking your head. Do you want to?
Yes, I read too. I'm a passionate reader, and I have a big library in my own house. And every now and again, there'll be a book on that shelf that's been sitting there for years, and I'll pick it up and take it down and think, this book is speaking to me personally. And there are lots of things that I enjoy reading about. And I did a project for Grand Coulee Dam for the Lake Roosevelt's K through 12 school about 5 years ago. And it's a long drive up there, and you're there. And we got there and we went to sleep in this little motel right on the backside of the dam. All of a sudden, these 2 owls started to sing. And we both looked at each other and said, that's it. I'm going to do bird paintings for these kids. And, 80% of those kids are Native Americans. And one of them said, oh, why did you do these? And I said, well, looking at birds, you see the air between you and where the bird is. You see the way the bird looks at you, and they're all dinosaurs. Don't forget that. I don't know how I got off that subject, but reading. Arvi said, reading is what it is, really is.
Well, thank you so much for that, Lucinda. Reading for you and Arvi is definitely an impact into your process and those stories that you hear and you share within your art. Is that the same for you, Ellen? Or do you have another way of getting inspiration?
Well, yes, I would say that the pride of my teaching all through the years was the involvement with my students were veterans of Vietnam, especially. And so many of them were way off track. And it was such joy to see them get on a good track. And the schooling and my education helped that. I was proud of that, especially with my work in places like Kaiser Aluminum, and don't be afraid of them. Work with them, show them you can do something with students. And then, of course, on to Hanford, what was the biggest challenge of all. But we did it. We worked with the devil at times, but we actually did get job experience, and my students were given that on their resume. I was proud of that.
That's a huge accomplishment. You should be proud. And sometimes you do have to work with the devil to get your message out there and change lives.
We're going to have to get your message out there. Well, that's at times you felt. But when it worked out for the better, then you really did feel good. You felt your teaching was really of value someplace.
Definitely. We definitely appreciate all of you who have served in an educational role over the years and helped foster inspiration in young people. And you have all done it in some way. Anthony, you didn't get to answer the question about your inspiration. Would you like to?
Sure. Well, like Ellen, I too work with the devil. And I'm also a fierce reader. And I think for me, my inspiration really comes from awfulness. Like I look towards things that I find ill that I would like to see shift. And typically my process is in response to things, usually putting them on myself and mocking it publicly, and also negotiating my own place within these systems. But really the real guide for inspiration for me is, what is the thing that hits me in the shower and makes me giggle hysterically to myself? If I care about it enough to giggle about it hysterically when it hits me in the shower, then that means that I've got to share it with people. And sometimes it works. So there's that.
We have another question for each one of you is, how do you celebrate an award like this? Do you go out to a fancy dinner, head off to Disneyland? What is something that you're going to make to commemorate this for yourself?
Oh, I just say the main thing is to get back to a working routine. That's the most difficult of all. And I want to say that how deeply I appreciate the award. That is an award of a lifetime. And I would like to also thank my gallery, Ampersand, who has done so much to keep me up and going. Thank you. It's sitting here right now helping me get through this because I'm so deaf.
Well, that is great to have a gallery that supports you in all aspects of your practice.
Yes, that's where I've been very fortunate. It's been unusually fortunate.
Well, thank you so much. Lucinda and Arvi, how are you going to celebrate and mark this occasion within your practice?
Cindy, do you want to go first, or?
I hope to do a better painting. As simple as that. I just want to make another painting that's better. And trying to figure out what's a better painting is really what it's all about. And at some point, it's you that decides you got to push yourself this way or this way. And, you feel like you're learning all the time. And I have to just say to George Johansson, he was my first painting teacher, and he's the one who said, look at the fauves. You obviously like color. Wasn't that smart of him? He's a smart guy.
And I think Michelangelo, the agony and the ecstasy. There's agony and there's ecstasy, and who knows which comes first. But finishing a piece is ecstasy, but it's also kind of a letdown. It's that depression, and this goes with the show too. You work and you work and you work, and you've done, you think, the best that you could do, and you present it to the public, it goes well, but then there's this depression that I've talked to most artists that they feel, and they have to regroup to go on, to keep going on to the next show. And that agony that you experience, that sleepless nights, sleepless all the time. You can't get, once you start working, you can't get away from it. It's there until it says, okay, I'm done with you, move on. And that's the exciting part of being an artist for me.
What is the best advice that you've gotten, that you've taken and applied to your own practice?
You know, mine was from a fellow student, and we were getting ready to do our thesis at the Portland Pacific Northwest College of Art, and we're sharing a studio. We're sharing a studio space, and this artist said to me, "Harvey, paint like your life depends on it." And she was right. She was right. It becomes almost a life and death situation. You have to get this. You have to do this, and leaving it incomplete is not an option.
I'm thinking about my husband at home, and I need to go home and take care of him. I loved everybody. I loved what you said. It was great. Thank you so much.
Well, Anthony, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think, something I kind of alluded to it in my video, the video that played earlier, but I think something that came up at PNCA when I was like doing drag, and then my instructors were like, "Hey, so why are you always late to class?" But what the kind of advice that really came out of that was like, why are you editing yourself? Why are you trying to prevent from sharing this thing that you really love with other people? And it was instructors and professors like Linda Cleaver and David Eckert and MK Guth that really kind of pushed this out of me, where it was like, if this is the thing you love, do it. And I think that's always been my advice, is follow and go for the thing that you really are the most passionate about. Even if it seems niche, if it seems weird or scary, or it scares you, if you really are passionate about it, then go for it. Because I think that's the only way to get people interested, is if they see the passion coming through that you have for it, then they're going to feel it too. If you don't have passion for it, then who cares? So yeah, I think follow your fear and follow what you love.
Thank you. Mary Ellen, is there any advice for you that you stuck with your practice?
Well, I would like to say that be open to new things, especially things that hit me was the responsive eye exhibit that toured the United States, the things that were coming out of Europe in graphic design, and how that was affecting or not affecting the Pacific Northwest. That was really exciting to see the new way of seeing art and graphic design that was not from our perspective, but from another culture, from other cultures, especially in Europe.
So we have one last question before we have to wrap things up. But the question is it true that art controls your process rather than you controlling your art? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's, you go a halfway pathway down the middle, hoping that you don't get annihilated trying to figure out something that's new, but it can't annihilate you. There's no work if you're doing something no one understands, but that's a point you just have to figure out on your own.
I can agree with that. It's elusive. It's ambiguous. You start something, but you're not really in control. You think you're in control, but you're not really in control. Where did that come from? I know sometimes I'm painting and things appear that I had no idea that they were going to appear. So I think there's something else going on that perhaps I don't understand. It's coming from somewhere else, and it's invigorating when it happens. But then you start thinking, okay, that was pretty radical. Do I censor myself? And so there's all of these things that go into the work that you have to consider, but I think it's a mistake if you're not honest with yourself and do what the painting tells you to do.
I absolutely agree with that sentiment. You know, sometimes it's really about relinquishing control and letting yourself breathe as you go through this unknown with the work. I think of, like, with painting or with makeup, just breathe and blend, and just you will get there. In my case, I try to relinquish control now to the process, but I'm very aware that my other half, Carla Rossi, is 100% in control. So there's that.
Well, since we're about to wrap it up, I would like to give you each the floor to say any last words before we close this evening. So if any of you have anything that you'd like to say, would be a great time.
I love it. This is it, Anthony. Anthony's bringing in the young folks. Here we go, buddy.
This is it. Absolutely, Harvey. And I can't tell you how honored I am to get to hold this alongside you all. That's the greatest honor, is to be included with you three. So thank you.
I would just like to shine this spotlight back on the students that will be coming along. This is what it's all about. You don't realize it until you get it, and then you're really overwhelmed. It's beautiful, and you see something like this, it makes all that struggle worthwhile.
Well, thank you, each one of you. Anybody in our audience today sees these people on the street, give them safe recognition, give them a clap, a bow, an air hug, a high five, an elbow, whatever it is, send them a box of wine, whatever that is that you want to celebrate these wonderful people, please do that. And just know that you are wonderful examples of our PNCA community, and we are honored to have you lead and shine the light on your practices and other people's practices as you go out and forward and make and create. And we can't wait to see what you do in the future and how you grow your practice even more than it already is. So thank you all so much for being amazing people, and we're honored to have you here with us tonight.
And I would like to thank the award committee. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Troy.
So the curtains have come down. Thank you all for being part of this great evening. You have been a wonderful audience. I hope you have a safe trip home. Remember to tip your wait staff. Please be kind to one another and go out there and continue making this world a more just, equitable, and sustainable place for us all to live, play, and maybe work. Thank you all, and great night. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all, and thank you for our award winners.